Ferrari's 2026 Formula One project is making headlines again, and this time, it's not just about performance gains, but about how bold the team is willing to be heading into the next era. Project 678, that's the internal name for Ferrari's 2026 car, has now entered what sources are calling its final development stage. Reports from Italian media say Ferrari has made several key design calls after their surprisingly strong showings in Austin and Mexico. The team seems to believe they've finally found a direction worth trusting, a rare phrase to hear around Maranello in recent years. Think about it. After an up-and-down 2025 season where consistency has been their biggest enemy, Ferrari's engineers are apparently convinced that the foundation they already have is good enough to build on. That's a big statement, especially when you consider how radically different the 2026 regulations will be. Instead of tearing everything apart and starting from scratch again, Ferrari is choosing to refine and optimize what's already working. It's a sign of quiet confidence, maybe even maturity, from a team often accused of chasing instant fixes instead of steady progress. And at the center of all this, the car that Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton will drive. A car expected to feature one of the most ambitious power unit concepts Ferrari has ever attempted in the hybrid era. According to reports, the 2026 engine will focus on maximizing both electrical efficiency and combustion power, a delicate balance that could make or break their championship hopes under the new rules. For fans, it's both exciting and nerve-wracking, because Ferrari's history with revolutionary ideas has always come with a bit of drama. But there's another story unfolding inside Ferrari that's just as important. And it's a bit more personal. Lewis Hamilton's trusted performance engineer, Riccardo Corte, has quietly left the team after more than a decade in Maranello. If you're wondering, no, this isn't Riccardo Adami, the name some Hamilton fans first jumped to. Still, Corte's exit is a significant one. He played an important role in helping Hamilton adapt to the Ferrari environment during his first season in red. His departure leaves a small but noticeable gap in the communication chain that Hamilton values so much. For a driver who thrives on trust and stability, losing a key engineer could have an impact behind the scenes, even if it's not obvious to fans watching from the outside. So, you've got two big shifts happening at once. Ferrari doubling down on a confident new design direction, and one of Hamilton's inner circle engineers walking away. The combination makes for an interesting picture, a team in transition, not just mechanically, but humanly. Will this make Ferrari stronger in 2026, or could these moves add new layers of instability? If you're following Ferrari or Hamilton closely this season, you'll definitely want to stay tuned. Subscribe to Fast News F1 and hit the notification bell. Your subscription helps us reach our goal of 2,000 subscribers and lets us keep bringing you these deep dives faster than anyone else. Quick poll for you. Do you think Ferrari's radical revamp is bold genius or risky desperation? Vote in the poll right now and let's see what the community thinks. And tell me in the comments, which part of this story grabs your attention more? Ferrari's suspension switch or Corte's departure from Hamilton's crew? I'm curious to know what you think. Ferrari's new direction didn't just come out of nowhere. It's the result of a few key weekends that completely shifted the mindset inside Maranello. After struggling through most of 2025, the team's performances in Austin and Mexico acted as a turning point. Two races with completely different challenges, one low altitude and bumpy, the other thin air and high speed, yet both showed something Ferrari had been chasing for months: consistency. Charles Leclerc's back-to-back podiums were more than just good results. They were proof that the team's car concept wasn't broken. It just needed refinement. That success gave Ferrari's engineers the confidence to lock in their development path for 2026 instead of making last-minute overhauls. According to La Gazzetta dello Sport, those 2 weekends eliminated many doubts about final design choices. And in Formula One, internal confidence is often worth as much as a few tenths on the stopwatch. Now, the backbone of Project 678. Ferrari's 2026 car is its revolutionary power unit. Sources describe it as Ferrari's boldest hybrid-era design since 2014. The goal is to strike a perfect balance between combustion and electrical efficiency. That means not just raw horsepower, but smarter power, making sure every bit of hybrid energy is harvested, stored, and deployed as efficiently as possible under the new regulations. These 2026 rules will place heavier emphasis on electrical output, meaning teams that perfect hybrid integration could gain massive advantages. Ferrari knows this could be their golden window. But let's rewind for a second, because this confident Ferrari didn't exist at the start of the year. The SF25, the current car, has been one of the most frustrating machines in recent memory. Despite Hamilton's arrival generating enormous excitement, the team is still winless heading into the final stretch. The biggest headache has been ride height. Running too low to chase downforce caused major problems early on, including Hamilton's disqualification in China for excessive plank wear. That incident forced Ferrari to raise the car's setup, instantly costing them aerodynamic grip and lap time. It's a classic Ferrari story: risk everything for performance, only to be punished by the rules. But in recent races, the tide seems to be turning. Engineers found a sweet spot in the suspension and floor setup that brought back much of the lost stability. The data from Austin and Mexico reassured the technical department that they were finally moving in the right direction. Rather than ripping up the blueprint, they've decided to evolve it. That's a big cultural change. Ferrari historically reacts with sweeping redesigns, but this time they're trusting the process. And it's not just about the car. The leadership behind Project 678, now led by Loic Serra, formerly of Mercedes, has brought a more disciplined, data-driven mindset. Every design decision is based on measurable improvement, not instinct or tradition. The 2026 car will be the first Ferrari fully shaped by his technical vision, and that's creating real optimism inside the factory. Some even say it's the most united the engineering team has felt in years. If you've been a Ferrari fan for a while, you know that kind of stability doesn't happen often. But it's also fragile. One wrong step in development can unravel it quickly. So here's the question. Is Ferrari's newfound calm a sign they've learned from past chaos, or are they just setting themselves up for another heartbreak? Tell me what you think in the comments. Has Ferrari finally learned patience, or are we seeing another false dawn? And if you want more breakdowns like this, make sure to subscribe to Fast News F1 and ring the bell. Your subscription is super important. It helps us grow, reach our 2,000 subscriber goal, and bring you more in-depth analysis like this one. Now, in the next part, we're going to break down Ferrari's boldest technical gamble yet: the double pushrod suspension. What it means, why it matters. So let's get into what might be Ferrari's boldest move for 2026, the double pushrod suspension system. At first glance, that might sound like a simple technical tweak, but it's actually one of the most dramatic philosophical shifts Ferrari has made in more than a decade. Reports from Automotor on Sport confirm that under the guidance of Loic Serra, who joined Ferrari after years of success at Mercedes, the team is overhauling the suspension layout entirely. For the first time since 2010, Ferrari will run a pushrod configuration both at the front and the rear of the car. Now, if you're wondering why that's a big deal, here's the quick version. In a pushrod setup, the suspension arms are connected in a way that pushes up into the chassis when the wheel hits bumps or loads. In a pull rod system, those same forces pull downward instead. Both designs affect how airflow moves over the car and how the suspension reacts to load transfer. For years, Ferrari and Red Bull took different approaches, with Red Bull often favoring the pull rod for aerodynamic packaging advantages. But for 2026, Ferrari's engineers believe the double pushrod approach will be the better fit for the new active aero regulations that are coming. The reasoning is simple. The rear of the car will play a much bigger role in managing airflow when the wings and body surfaces start actively adjusting for drag and downforce. By redesigning the rear suspension geometry and even reversing parts of its layout, Ferrari wants to give the diffuser cleaner, more stable airflow. That stability is critical for predictable handling and efficient energy recovery under the hybrid rules. So while this might sound like a step backward, it's actually a step toward a completely new aerodynamic philosophy built around 2026's active systems. And this time, the changes aren't about guesswork or desperation. One of the most common criticisms Ferrari's faced in the past decade is that their big redesigns often come from panic, tearing apart what didn't work instead of evolving what did. Remember last year? The SF25 was built with 99% new parts compared to its predecessor, switching from front push rod to front pull rod, and that gamble fell flat. The car had major balance inconsistencies and struggled with ride compliance. It's the kind of situation that still gives Ferrari fans flashbacks, but what's different now is the process. Loic Serra's fingerprints are all over this project. Everything about the new suspension, from the load path to the packaging, is being tested and validated through simulation before a single component hits the track. That might sound obvious, but Ferrari hasn't always had that level of discipline. Under Serra, there's less guesswork, more science, and that's a big shift in culture for Maranello. Of course, fans are divided. Some think this is exactly what Ferrari needs, a confident, forward-thinking leap that finally modernizes their chassis philosophy. Others see it as another risky reinvention that could backfire if not executed perfectly. And honestly, both sides have a point. Radical ideas can make or break a team. And in 2026, when every team's starting from a clean slate, whoever interprets the new rules best could have a year-long advantage. So, which camp are you in? Do you trust Ferrari's engineers to pull this off? Or do you think this is just another case of overcomplicating things? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And tell me which you'd rather see next on Fast News F1. A short explainer video just about suspension systems, or a longer engineering-focused series that breaks down how each team is tackling 2026. I'll pin a poll so you can vote there too. And remember, if you enjoy technical breakdowns like this, subscribe to Fast News F1 and turn on notifications. We're on our way to 2,000 subscribers, and your support helps us keep digging deeper into stories like this one. Next up, we're going from engineering to human dynamics. How Ferrari's internal shakeup, including Riccardo Corte's exit, could impact Hamilton's performance heading into 2026. Behind every Formula One driver, there's a small circle of engineers, strategists, and performance specialists who know them better than anyone else. And for Lewis Hamilton, that trust is everything. That's why the news of Riccardo Corte's departure from Ferrari might seem minor on the surface, but it could have bigger consequences than people realize. Corte wasn't a public figure in the paddock, but inside the team, he was respected and deeply embedded in the fabric of Ferrari's operations. He joined Maranello over a decade ago, initially working in Ferrari's hybrid power unit development department. Over time, he transitioned into more trackside roles, first as a driver coach for Charles Leclerc, later as performance engineer for Carlos Sainz, and most recently as part of Hamilton's adaptation team during his first season with Ferrari. In short, Corte's been part of the DNA of Ferrari's race team since the hybrid era began. His experience connected the technical departments with the drivers, a bridge that not many people inside a team can build. Now, with Corte gone, Ferrari loses one of those quiet but essential figures who made communication between driver and engineer smoother, especially for someone like Hamilton. If you've followed Lewis's career, you know how much he values relationships within his team. His success at Mercedes wasn't just about the car, it was about trust, consistency, and a shared understanding built over years. Every driver-engineer pairing develops its own rhythm, and when that rhythm breaks, it takes time to rebuild. Of course, this doesn't mean disaster for Hamilton at Ferrari, but it does mean adjustment. With 2026 bringing a completely new car philosophy, new suspension geometry, and a redesigned power unit, there's already a lot for him to adapt to. Losing a familiar voice in his ear, someone who understood his preferences, his feedback style, even the tone he uses over team radio, adds another variable to that transition. It also signals something broader happening at Ferrari. The team is quietly reshaping itself from the inside. They've brought in new leadership. They're aligning departments that used to operate in silos, and they're focusing more on long-term structure than short-term fixes. Court's exit might just be part of that evolution, a reshuffling aimed at matching Ferrari's new technical vision. It's not about individuals being pushed out. It's about rebalancing the ecosystem around the car's new philosophy. Still, for Hamilton fans, it raises an important question. Will the chemistry inside the garage take a hit? That's something worth keeping an eye on next season. Hamilton's already shown he can adapt to change, moving from McLaren to Mercedes, and now Ferrari proves that. But adapting to change is different when the ground beneath you keeps shifting. So, what do you think? Does losing Riccardo Corte make a real difference for Hamilton? Or will Ferrari's new structure make the transition smoother than people expect? Let me know in the comments. A simple yes or no is fine, but if you've got a deeper take, share it. I'll be reading your thoughts. And if you enjoy these kinds of behind-the-scenes insights, don't forget to subscribe to Fast News F1 and hit the notification bell. Your subscription really helps us reach our goal of 2,000 subscribers and allows us to keep producing the detailed analysis that true F1 fans like you deserve. Now, with all these internal shifts happening, Ferrari's next real test comes on the track. And that test is Brazil. The weather forecast looks unpredictable, and that could completely shake up not only Ferrari's weekend, but the entire title fight between Norris, Piastri, and Verstappen. The Brazilian Grand Prix always has that unpredictable energy about it, and this year it could be even more dramatic. Interlagos is known for its chaos, high elevation, quick weather changes, and a track layout that can turn a calm afternoon into total mayhem in seconds. The latest forecasts suggest mixed conditions across the entire weekend, and that means strategy, tire management, and a little bit of luck will play a huge role once again. For Friday's practice, things are expected to start off relatively stable. Temperatures around the mid-20s, low chance of rain, perfect for gathering early data. But as soon as sprint qualifying hits, the situation changes completely. Temperatures will climb, and the chance of rain nearly triples. Teams could face split tire strategies and changing grip levels from lap to lap. That's when the chaos starts to brew. And for Ferrari, that kind of variability could actually be an advantage. They've been improving their mechanical grip and tire performance recently, and in tricky conditions, that balance can make all the difference. The sprint race, though, looks like a full wild card. Predictions point to roughly a 75% chance of rain, with cooler air and track temperatures. That combination usually makes it difficult to get tires into the right window, and that's exactly where driver skill and confidence shine. Charles Leclerc has looked strong in mixed conditions lately, while Hamilton's ability to adapt in the wet is legendary. If the weather turns messy, Ferrari might just find themselves in the mix with the likes of Norris, Piastri, and Verstappen, all of whom are still locked in that intense title battle. Then comes qualifying for Sunday, again, potentially damp, but not soaked. Around a 45% chance of rain, meaning timing will be everything. One red flag, one mistimed lap, and the entire grid order could flip. And the Grand Prix itself? Cooler temperatures and only a small risk of showers. But as we've learned, Interlagos doesn't always follow forecasts. Remember last year? Verstappen missed Q3 after a red flag ruined his lap, and Norris grabbed a stunning pole, only for Verstappen to come back through the chaos and win the race in the wet. It's the kind of unpredictable weekend that makes Brazil one of the most exciting stops on the calendar. This time, the stakes are even higher. Verstappen is still trying to claw his way back into the title fight. Norris and Piastri, driving what many call the best car in the wet, are pushing to extend their lead. And Ferrari? They're not fighting for the championship, but they're fighting for pride, to show that this new direction, this Project 678 mindset, is already producing real results. Every race from here to Abu Dhabi matters for momentum heading into 2026. So, who do you think benefits most if rain turns Interlagos upside down again? Verstappen, Norris, or Piastri? Vote in the poll and tell me in the comments who you think will win both the sprint and the main race. Short predictions only. One name per comment. Let's see who gets it right this weekend. And before you go, if you've enjoyed this deep dive into Ferrari's evolution, the internal shifts, and what it all means heading into 2026, make sure you're subscribed to Fast News F1 and that you've turned on notifications. We're pushing hard toward 2,000 subscribers, and your support genuinely helps us grow and bring you even more in-depth F1 coverage every race week. This has been your detailed look into Ferrari's 2026 vision, from the engineering lab to the unpredictable drama of Brazil. And if you want to keep the momentum going, check out our next video for more on how the other teams are preparing for the 2026 regulation reset.